All righty, and I will call out your names as I see them on my screen. And then you can introduce yourself to me and your classmates. So we'll start at the top corner, and that would be Savannah.
Hi everybody. I'm originally from Denver, but I moved up here a couple years ago, and the city life just isn't for me, so I'd rather be closer to the mountains. I took a math class, I think it was college algebra last semester. So it's pretty fresh in my memory still. And what was the other thing you wanted us to talk about?
Just anything else you would like to share about yourself or about this class that you're, with the trigonometry class you're getting ready to start?
Okay, that's really about it.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. All right, so Andrew's actually going to put his information in chat because he is in a little bit of a loud area and he is unable to unmute himself. So we'll move on to, is it Alicia?
Yeah, it's Alicia.
Hey.
Yeah, so my name's Alicia. This is my second semester, or yeah, my third semester at Ames. The last time I took a math class was last semester, and it was for algebra. I guess something about myself. I guess I'm attending here to study computer science.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. What are you hoping to do with that?
I'm thinking about going to cybersecurity.
Wonderful. All right. We definitely need more of those nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. Amazing. Thank you. Hi, Katie.
Hello. So my name is Katie. The last time I took a math course was last semester. I took college algebra. And something interesting about me, I graduated high school a year early, so I graduated as a junior.
Wow. Wonderful. Did that, was that an exciting thing for you or were you nervous about that?
It was super exciting. I was not a fan of high school. I was ready to move on. So I worked extra hard and got out a year
Wonderful.
early.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Hi, Darren.
Hi, I'm Darren. The last math class I took was college algebra, and it was not this past fall, but the fall before that. And a fun fact about me is I have a pet rabbit.
All right, very nice. So you said it's been a little over a year since you had the college algebra course. Okay. All right, wonderful. Let's see. Hey, Melanie.
Hi, my name is Melanie. I go by Mel.
Mel, okay.
Yeah, the last time I took a math class was probably my junior. Well, I graduated in 2019 from Early College Academy. I do have my Associates of Liberal Arts, but I stayed here at Ames to get my the credits for an Associate of Science. This should be my last semester, but I don't really know. It's more of like if I pass my classes and also if I can get some classes in the summer, then yeah, I should be gone by the fall semester. But the last time I took college algebra in my junior year of high school, and then I took stats my senior year. That was probably, yeah, so I guess the last time I took a class was probably like a math class was 2019. Yeah. But yeah.
And where are you hoping to transfer to, Melanie?
I wanted to go to CSU, but I think it's just easier and like more financially like better, just UNC, since I do have like automatic like scholarships that I potentially have set up and everything, and also it's like right down the street. It's pretty convenient. But yeah, I did want to go to CSU, but I don't know yet.
Have you looked into the Ames to UNC transition program?
Oh yeah, I'm actually in contact. I have my admission counselor now, like with at UNC. So I do have a meeting like this week just to see like how that process like would go about. Just to get specifics. But yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's wonderful though. Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, Lucy.
Hi, I'm Lucy. The last time I took a math class was last summer, I think, and then I tried to take trigonometry the following semester and it just didn't work out. So I'm excited to try with a new instructor. I also have a pet rabbit. I like to read and play electric guitar.
Ah, that is wonderful. I don't think I've ever had anybody with a pet rabbit, and now I have a class with 2 students. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have a little cottontail who visits my porch in the springtime, but definitely not a pet rabbit. He's all over the place. So
That's
that is
adorable.
amazing. Wonderful. Hey, Chris, I'm not sure what's going on with your video because I don't see your video here.
Hi, Mr. Ruka. I don't know how to turn on the video. I just bought this computer, so it's going to take me like a little bit of time to figure this out. I apologize.
No, that's fine. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for asking.
All right. You want to share about yourself with your classmates?
Yeah, I took this class last semester. Actually last year at this time with Mr. Ruka, and had some major surgery in that time period and procrastinated like a professional, and tried to get the class done in a 3-week period, and it just didn't work. So here I am again, and Mr. Ruka is a great instructor. So as long as you get your homework done on time, everything should be good.
I'm excited to have you back in class, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys read Andrew's comment in the chat. So he says, hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Kaneda, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name, Andrew. He says, I'm 17 years old and I attend Ames via concurrent enrollment through CEC Fort Collins. The last math class I took was Math 121, which is college algebra 3 semesters ago, okay? I am also studying computer science, Alicia. I plan to transfer to CSU for that program. Super excited to work with all of you this semester. All right, wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Andrew. All right, guys, so just to give you a little bit of overview for our course, and just to kind of show you some things around our course shell, let me go ahead and share my screen here with you. So this is your D2L course shell that I'm showing you, and I'm going to put this in student view so it looks a little bit more familiar. So every week, I start out by putting announcements just to kind of let you know, what we're going to be working on this week and what to expect. Of course, you had your just initial, welcome message here just to kind of let you know some of those beginning of the semester things to look out for. If you guys have not yet enrolled in the remind.com notifications, that should be something you should look into, because it's easy for me to send you notifications through remind.com, and you just receive text messages on your cell phone. I believe you can also receive them as emails if you prefer an email reminder, but basically it just sends you reminders, and I don't get to see your cell phone numbers. It's hidden from me. I just get to see your name and I can send you those reminders. So you should have received a email from me, but if you did not, I can show you where else you can find that link. Another thing that I recommend you guys to do is, if you haven't done it in your other classes, forward your D2L email to your ames.edu. That's the one through Gmail that we access. Because if you look at the top over here, you will see that you have an option of receiving emails right here in D2L. And if you forward them, then you don't have to look at 2 different email programs to see, did your professor message you on D2L? Did they message you on ames.edu? So if you forward them, all of them are going to be in the same place. So that's something you may want to consider. Definitely sign up for those remind.com messages. And then, we'll be using the homework program called WebAssign to do our, homeworks, quizzes, exams, final exam. All of those are going to be electronically done through this program. And I can show you where you can find that. I also included another announcement where you will have this link for, our classroom meeting, but also the link for our office hours, which is actually right after we get done with this class. So that way, if you wanted to stay on a little bit longer and ask questions, I would just ask you guys to switch to the office hours link. So that way, if anybody else was going to drop in to ask questions, we can all be there together. So both those links are right here as an announcement also. Now, if you go under content, that's where you're going to find all the information you need for this course. So of course, we start out with our course information here. You will see I've included some initial messages here. So getting started again is just kind of letting you know, as you're starting this course, what all things to look out for and stuff like that. So you can look through that. Here is your remind.com invitation that I was talking about. So if you just go ahead and click on this link, it will take you directly where you need to sign up for these reminder messages. So, if you haven't done that, like I said, go ahead, click on that link, take care of that. I have also included a PDF document here, which takes you step by step on how you can forward your D2L email to your Gmail, the ames.edu email address. So you can go through those. Just some general information about myself. You've got the same classroom link and the office hours link right here under this page also. So, if that announcement disappears or something like that, you can always come to the content course information and look for that. You've got your course syllabus. I would definitely ask you to look through the course syllabus. You can do it as a web page, which is that first link. And it's the exact same course syllabus, but I just added it as a PDF document if you wanted to download it. So, if you didn't want to get online all the time, you can download that and leave it on your desktop or something like that. So you can do that also. But the information in both of them is the same. If you just want to do a quick look at, what kind of breakdown we have for this course, again, it's not very detailed, but just to kind of give you an idea, we're taking our first exam, which is going to be the first 4 sections of chapter 1. So sections 1.1 to 1.4 makes our first exam, and then sections 1.5 to 1.8 make up our second exam. So chapter 1 is broken up into 2 exams, just because it's a pretty long chapter, and it gets pretty overwhelming if you try to do the whole chapter as one exam. So that's why we kind of break it up into 2. And then you can see, just the basic breakdown over here. We've got, resources just to show you the different services that are available to you through the college. So you can kind of look through these links if you wanted. So that's just general information that you have available here under course information. And then, of course, if you go under here in WebAssign, you will see you have a link for your textbook. So since you have, access to the ebook, I normally don't recommend you to buy the hard copy unless, you're one of those students who prefers to have your own textbook. So it's easy for you to use, that's fine. But as far as our class goes, it's not a requirement. So I would say if you can work with the ebook, then don't spend money on the actual hard copy. And then this is where you will actually need to click on WebAssign to get to the homework part of it. And it might look a little bit different because it's going to by default take me to the instructor side of things. When you click on it, it's going to look a little bit different. So let me see if this will open. Okay, yeah, so you can see this is kind of what your student view looks like. Now you will notice that all of the homework assignments and quizzes are in gray, and only the section 1.1 homework is showing up. And that's one of the things that this program does is it doesn't let you work on all the assignments at the same time. So you do kind of have to go section by section. So the reason this is happening is because you have a 90% requirement on your homework sections. If you don't have a 90% on your homework section, then actually your next homework section and your quiz and chapter exam do not open up. So you have to have all homework sections completed with 90%. So the idea here is what WebAssign does is it's going to wait till you get 90% on section 1.1 before it will let you to move on to section 1.2. And then, of course, same thing, you have to have 90% on 1.2 before you can move on to 1.3. So that's kind of how, WebAssign works. And unfortunately, that's a setting I have no control over. I cannot change any of that. And then, this is just what the instructor side looks like. So this is where, like I said, you will be doing your quizzes, your exams, of course, homework and the final exam. So your exam will show up when I open it. It hasn't been opened yet. So that's why you're only seeing section 1.1 right now. So that's under the WebAssign module over here on the left. So you'll see these two over here. And then you will see I have class handouts. So they're broken down by sections, chapter and section. So all of them are available right over here. And I would definitely have you look through that. All the video lectures that I have created are based on these handouts. And then you can see I've actually included the lectures from 2 different semesters. So if you want to actually see the detailed version of the video lecture, you want to go to the spring 2020, because this is where I actually go over the handouts and a lot of the concepts. So that's where you'll find this. In the spring 2021 lectures, you still have a little bit of explanation, but this one is where we focused more on exercise problems. We focused more on homework problems. So this one is where we did a lot more, examples and stuff like that. So that's why I've included both of those sets of lectures. So that way, if you wanted a little bit more theory, a little bit more explanation, that's a spring 2020. And then if you wanted to look at more of the homework problems and stuff like that, that's going to be the spring 2021 lecture. So that's kind of how these are broken down. And then normally, if I have a student ask me question on a homework problem and they're really struggling with it, I'll usually create a document or a video, just depending on the problem itself. And I'll usually post that under the homework help. So looks like I've only got one link in there, but as you guys ask me questions and as I go through the solutions, I'll post them here under the homework help. So that's kind of how your course shell here is broken down into the D2L. So anything popping up, just any questions at this point? Okay, so just very briefly, some things that I wanted to point out from our course syllabus, and I'll just show you in the web page version. So a lot of the beginning is, just the general information when we meet, what are times, my contact information and all that. Your drop deadline and withdrawal deadline. So, if there's any reason you feel like, you're unable to continue with this class, if you drop it by January 31st, then, it doesn't show up on your transcript. If you withdraw from the class by April 6th, then, of course, it does show up with a W next to the class if you withdraw from a course. So just those 2 deadlines would be something to keep in mind. Here's the information on your prerequisites, a textbook. Even though I say scientific calculator is what you are allowed to use, that's the department policy. But if you guys have a graphing calculator and you're comfortable using that, that's fine. Since we're not on campus, I can't really control that. So I would say if you're more comfortable with the graphing calculator, go ahead and do that. But scientific calculator is what the department recommends for this course. Your course description, here's where they kind of get into the topics, what are the main topics we will be covering in this class. And, it may look like, oh, there's only, 6 or 7 things that we're talking about, but each of them definitely breaks down into a little bit more deeper. We get a little bit more detailed with some of these. So if you want to see the breakdown for these topics, you can see how each one of these we're talking about basic definitions of trig functions. And you can kind of see how we break down that topic further into subtopics. So just a topical outline that you can look at. So just to let you know, our main focus is going to be on the required outline, and then time permitting, we get into the recommended stuff. So the required is what, the college system has identified as anybody who takes a trig course should definitely be comfortable with those. And then recommended topics usually come in the form of, if we have time, we can go over them. So that's kind of why you will see the required and the recommended section there. This is just information from the state education department about how this course can transfer to any Colorado higher institution. So, you know, a 2-year college, 4-year college. So this course will transfer to any of our, you know, UNC, CSU, wherever you guys end up going, Metro, some students go to Metro. So whichever institution you go to in Colorado will accept your transfer credit for this course. This is just learning outcomes that AIM has identified. So you can kind of look through that. Here is just some information about, again, mainly how the college will deal with, you know, the course delivery if we have, you know, like today we closed campuses at noon because of bad weather. So, you know, if that happens, you know, with the COVID pandemic going on. So all these circumstances that may lead to, you know, changes in how a course can be delivered. So this is kind of that information, code of conduct for a student, you know, and all of that information just to kind of let you know what AIMS as a college has laid out for you. Now, once we get down from the attendance policy, this is specific to our class, to our college trigonometry. So attendance is definitely mandatory. I take attendance every class period that we meet. Looking at our calendar, we're going to meet for 30 days. So we have 30 class periods for us, you know, counting today. So you get points for each day that you attend. And the idea is, you know, if you come to class on time and you leave when the class is adjourned, you get 1 full point for attendance. If you are late to class, and I usually don't count the first day because, you know, you're not aware of the policy, we're just starting out. So first day is an exemption, but going forward, you know, if you're late to class or if you have to leave early, then you lose attendance points. You only get half a point. If you come to class late and, you know, you're leaving early, so you're kind of missing the beginning and the end, then you don't get any attendance points. You know, if you're in class for less than half of the class time, or you miss class completely, then in those situations, you don't get attendance points. And basically the idea is you have to maintain a 90% attendance to be able to take your exam. So that can be chapter exam, that can be final exam. If your attendance falls below 90%, then you will not be eligible to take the chapter exam, which is what we will be working on right now. You know, it's at the end of the semester where we'll be looking at the final exam. So just kind of keep that in mind. You do have an attendance requirement. You don't want to drop your attendance below 90%. So just keep that in mind, because like I said, if you don't get to take an exam, you end up getting a 0 on that exam. So just be careful about that. So in terms of the final exam, since we meet for 30 days, you know, you get 30 attendance points. If your points are between 27 and 30, then, you know, you've got that 90% or more for your attendance, you can take the final exam. If your attendance falls below 26 points, then you won't be eligible to take the final exam. And this is the same rule that will apply for chapter exams, but, you know, the only difference with chapter exams is it's not going to be based on 30 points. It's going to be how many ever days we've met, and out of those days, how many have you missed, and what's your point count, you know, when we come up to that first chapter exam, the second chapter exam, and so on and so forth. Some rules, since we are a remote learning class, you know, a lot of times we get the impression that, you know, as long as my video is turned on, I am in attendance. But, you know, if you're lying in bed and you're going to fall asleep on me, that's not attending. You know, if you're driving or traveling in a vehicle, then that's really not attendance, because there's going to be distractions. You know, we think we're paying attention, but obviously we cannot give 100% attention. If you are at work and, you know, you're still having to do work related to your job, and then at the same time you're, you know, attending class, then again, that's not it. So the idea is you have to treat this as though you are on campus in the classroom. You know, your focus would be on the class, your focus would be on the instructor, and that's the same thing we expect in remote classes. So, you know, you shouldn't be on your cell phone, you shouldn't be talking to other people in the room. You know, if they're distracting you, then maybe ask them to leave the room, or maybe you move to a different place in your house, or, you know, wherever you might be. So try and find a spot where you're not going to be disturbed by other people. So, those kind of things, like I said, think of it as if you were in a classroom, how would you behave? And that's the same thing you want to do. Now, if for some reason you are unable to do any of these, then again, I would suggest, maybe find a different section or try an online section where you don't have to worry about remote class meetings and stuff like that. So drop this class, pick another one is what I would say. Because I do expect that level of attention from all of you in this class. If for any reason you do fall asleep during class, you will get 0 points for attendance, and I will actually exit you from the Zoom classroom. So basically, it makes me, I don't know how to put this in words, but I can basically have you leave the Zoom classroom. So you will be exited. So just be, careful about that. So again, since we are meeting on a remote platform and we're using Zoom as our program, just make sure your camera is turned on. You are in a well-lit room. I can see you, I can see your face, because, like even right now, as I'm sharing my screen, I have my little video window open on the side so I can keep looking at your faces just to make sure you're understanding. And I do that even when I'm lecturing. So I can see if you're understanding, if you are lost, if, we need to go over the concept again. And I do that when I'm in my classrooms also, because I read your faces to see if I am making sense or not, or, do we need to do a little bit more discussion on the topic we're going over. So just make sure that I am able to look at you. Like I said, have a well-lit room, have the camera on you, not, on a wall or a ceiling or anywhere else. Definitely not facing a window, because we're kind of going into nighttime at this point, but if it's too bright, then I can't see you if you're sitting against a window. So just those sort of things. Another thing that I would say is just make sure you're no later than 10 minutes, because if you're late to class by more than 10 minutes, and again, day one is an exception because you're not aware of this rule. But if you are late to class by more than 10 minutes, I will not let you enter our Zoom classroom. So you will stay in the waiting room, and then you can leave or, keep hanging out there, but you won't be able to join the classroom meeting. So just make sure that, be on time. But if for some reason you're going to be running late or anything, we have that 10-minute window. And after those 10 minutes have passed, you will not be allowed to enter the classroom. I've shared the classroom link here again, password, because sometimes it asks you for the password, sometimes it does not. So that information is also included right over here. I will normally try to get back to you in 24 hours or sooner, depending on when that email has been sent and what's going on at my end. So I will definitely try to get to you during the weekdays. Weekends can be challenging, and it may take me longer to get back to you, or sometimes if I don't get a chance to even check my email, then on the weekends I may not reply back. So if it's something urgent, try to catch me either before or after class, during office hours, or at least during the weekday, because I'm going to be more on my computer during the weekdays than I will be on the weekend. You have a pretty traditional grading scale over here. So as you can see, 90 to 100 will give you an A, 80 to 89 is a B, 70 to 79 is a C, 60 to 69 is a D, and then of course anything below that would be considered failing. Your breakdown is homework, quizzes, and if I give you any homework on the side or any kind of assignment just to reiterate the topic a little bit, all of those sort of assignments go under the same category with homework and quizzes, and that adds up to 40% of your overall grade. Your chapter exams will be 40%, and then the final exam is 20% of your overall grade. So you can see that adds up to a total of 100% for this. So as I showed you, there are video lectures that I've posted in your D2L course shell. It definitely helps if you watch them ahead of time, because you already know what topic we're going to be discussing, what's the theory behind it. So when we go over examples, you have a little bit of that background idea of, what we're talking about. Now, if you don't watch the video lectures and you come to class directly, then, you may be lost because you're not entirely sure what topic we're on, which section we're going over. And so that can get a little disconnected, because then you are not sure what we're talking about. And then following those examples can be a bit challenging. So definitely take some time before class, watch the video lectures and prepare yourself so you will be able to participate and, take part in the different examples we will be going over. As I showed you, WebAssign is where we do all of the homework for this class. The quizzes, exams, all of it's going to be in there. Here's your requirement that I'm talking about. You must have 90% on your homework sections, otherwise your quiz and exam will not open. You can definitely aim for 100%, so that way, you're getting a big chunk of that 40% from the homework taken care of. But please keep in mind, you have that 90% homework grade requirement. And one thing I will tell you, if you wait till the last minute to work on your homework, so if tomorrow is exam day and you're working on your homework today, it is going to get frustrating because it can, and Chris can probably talk more about this, it can literally be one tiny part of a homework problem that is giving you trouble, and because of that you're not able to get to that 90% requirement. So your next homework section will not open and you will not be able to move forward. So that's why I would say be very mindful of that 90% requirement. Chris, go ahead.
Mr. Ruka, may I ask, is there only, you have 5 opportunities to get the question right in the homework?
No, there should be. I believe it gives us a limit of 100.
Well, no, you do understand, like if I have a problem and I miss number 20, do I have 5 chances to get that right before I'm locked out of that
No,
problem? Because that
you should have, like I said, it used
unlimited
to be,
per press. Okay.
yeah, and I will go back and check that. Since you've mentioned it, I will go back and check that it is at 100 because that's the maximum they give us.
Yeah, that was my problem. I did, there was a limited amount of times you could do a problem. I tried to do all the homework in a
Yeah.
couple hours before the tests, and yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if you put that smaller limit, then that can be difficult. But no, I'm glad you mentioned that. I will definitely go and check and make sure that it gives you those 100 tries. So that, that way, if you need to do a problem over again and you're having trouble, you should have those options to go back and work on it. WebAssign, unfortunately, does not give us unlimited attempts. It does have that 100 as its threshold.
100 is, you better be able to get it in 100 tries.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
I'm actually glad that WebAssign is making us go a section at a time in order, because I know that when I took this last time, and my professor had opened up all of the sections, it can get a bit like overwhelming. This was an incomplete that I was doing, and so it kind of forces you to go one section at a time in the sequential order. So that's good for someone like me.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, and Scott, unfortunately, the program doesn't let me do where I can leave the sections open and then just make sure that all of them have 90% before you take the quiz or the exam. So WebAssign just has a little bit of a different programming, but it seems like you're okay with that part of it. So that's good.
Yeah. It can help with discipline.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, guys, so that's what I would again reiterate. Please do not wait till the last minute because it can get frustrating, when you're running out of time. You definitely want to get some sleep before the next day, and if you're still trying to work on homework. So I would say dedicate a little bit of time every day on getting that homework done, even if it's a few problems a day. If you can get a whole section done, if it's a smaller section, then go ahead and get that done. But dedicate at least a little bit, an hour, 2 hours every day if you can, and try and work on that homework. So when you get closer to the exam day, you're not feeling rushed and not trying to get all of the homework done at the same time. So just kind of keep that in mind. So the 90% requirement is definitely very crucial. And then you get 3 attempts on your quizzes. So, you take the quiz once, you don't like the grade you got, you do get 2 more chances. So total of 3 chances to work on the quiz and get a decent grade. But again, just make sure you have 90% on the homework before you get into the quiz. Now for the chapter exams, you only get 1 attempt, so you only get 1 try. There are no makeup exams. So if for some reason you do happen to miss your exam because you were unable to get the homework completed, or maybe you were not meeting the 90% attendance requirement so that you could take the exam, or maybe something else completely unrelated happened and you just were not able to be there on the day that we took the exam. So just keep in mind, even though there are no makeup exams, I do give you the option to drop your lowest chapter exam grade. So this is, before we get to the final exam. So once you've taken all the chapter exams, I will see which one is your lowest chapter exam grade and I will drop that. So if you did happen to miss an exam and you have a 0, then that grade can be dropped and it will not affect your overall class grade. Now, if for some reason you have 2 exams that have 0s on it, then, of course, one of those 0s will get dropped, but the other one will stay. If you take all the exams, and this is not just about 0. So if you take all the exams, same thing, whichever one is your lowest chapter exam grade, that grade will get dropped. So just again, make sure when you are getting ready to take the chapter exams, you have 90% grade on all the homework sections, and you also have 90% on your attendance. So you don't want to fall below that. We will be taking the exams like you are right now on Zoom. So, it's kind of like an in-class test, but, of course, you're still doing it at home. So just make sure you are alone in the room when you're taking an exam. So again, you don't have any distractions around you. And, of course, just to maintain that integrity of taking an exam. We want to make sure that you are by yourself when you do that. So you have a comprehensive final exam, which means everything you do from the first chapter till the last chapter is going to be part of the final exam. Since you guys are working at home and we're not doing these exams on campus or in the classroom, I will be okay if you want to use notes or formulas. And there will be some formulas that probably make sense to have there with you, so you don't have to memorize them. So I will be okay if you guys wanted to use some notes or have your if you want to create like an exam a cheat sheet or something like that, whatever you're comfortable with, that's fine. Again, like I said, scientific calculator, or you can do a graphing calculator if that's what you have on hand. No cell phones, no tablets, no smart devices for calculators. That's definitely not something you want to use. We still take the academic integrity very seriously. So that's one of the big things, that we don't want you to be tempted in performing any kind of academic dishonesty, and that's a big part with cell phones, is why we restrict those. So just, even though you're at home, you still want to create that same environment like you are in a classroom. Keep in mind about that 90% attendance requirement also for the final exam. Just reiterating our calculator policy over here. And then I've just kind of listed the tentative dates of when these exams will be happening. So you kind of know, when to turn in those homework, when to work on getting those homeworks completed. So as you can see, our first exam is going to be February 7th. So I would say, start today, at least try and get some of that initial, whatever you're comfortable working on your own, get some of that initial part taken care of. As we get more into our discussions and examples, you'll definitely be able to do more of your homework and, get better at it. But just kind of keep this in mind, that these are your dates that we are looking for the different exams that will be coming up. Our last day of class is going to be May 9th. And as you can see, that's when we will be taking our final exam, again on Zoom, like we do the other exams in class. Just some helpful hints to help you be successful in this course. One of the biggest things I always see with math students especially is falling behind, because a lot of times we have English papers to write, or maybe some other big assignment we need to be working on. So we think, I'm going to get this paper done first, or this homework done first, and then I'll come back and do math. And a lot of times we end up falling behind. And this is where you're going to run into that problem with the 90% grade requirement, because, if you, like I said, if you're going to kind of wait till the very last minute to get it done, that 90% is going to make you slow down a little bit. So just be very, very mindful. And that's why I say dedicate a couple hours each day to the class. So that way, you know, you're not going to be falling behind. If you are lost, you don't understand anything, you know, ask me questions during class, after class, through email, you know, however you're comfortable, but let me know that, hey, Ms. Aruka, I'm lost, you know, can I stay back and ask some questions? Can you help me with this? If the office hour time does not work with you, we can definitely meet during the daytime. Just let me know what time works for you and we can schedule a Zoom meeting and we can work one-on-one, or, you know, if you want to work as a group with 2 or 3 students, we can do that. Just whatever you need to help you, you know, succeed in this course. And, you know, participation is a big part of that, because when you participate, and you will see this as we get into the lecture part of it, I ask a lot of questions and I ask you guys to answer and participate, because I'm trying to see, are you understanding what we're talking about? Because, you know, if I'm the only one who keeps talking, then I don't get to see what you guys are doing or how are you understanding. So I do want a lot of participation from you. So please never hesitate to answer in class. If it's incorrect, that's okay. We'll, you know, correct it. I'll show you why you were incorrect and how we get about, you know, coming up with the right answer. So definitely, please ask questions, participate in class, you know, don't fall behind. Just keep in mind that if you miss any assignments, you know, there's no makeup. For the exams, I'll definitely let you drop the lowest chapter exam score. Some of these are more for in-person classroom behavior, but, you know, of course, we still want to respect each other, you know, make sure if for any reason you're getting upset with anyone or anything's going on, let me know and I can try and help you out in the situation. One of the biggest things is falling asleep. So, you know, if you sit on your bed and attend class, or if you're going to lay in your bed and attend class, that's a recipe for falling asleep. So, you know, try avoiding any of that situation where, you know, if I'm going to do it this way, there's a chance I might, you know, doze off. So don't do that. And then, you know, I will try to keep you on time. I'm not going to try and keep you here longer, but I say that, but, you know, sometimes if I'm finishing up an example, then I kind of think about, oh, I want to finish this before I dismiss class. So I'll apologize up front if I ever keep you guys longer than I need to. This is the same course schedule that I had posted here in D2L. I think that's the page I'm on right now. So this is the same course schedule. So this is available under your syllabus also. And it's the same one that you have under the course information page also. So this is just a quick, very quick overview on your syllabus. I would say at least go through and read all the details. So that way, if you have any questions, you can always ask me anything that did not make sense, or if you needed more clarification with. So that's kind of what you have. And this is what I was talking about. That course schedule is available right here. So that's kind of the overview with this course. So any questions coming to mind as we went over the syllabus?
Is there going to be any work due this weekend?
No.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, so our first assignment is going to be that chapter 1, you know, sections 1.1 to 1.4. I do actually have a kind of a preliminary quiz for you guys, and that's this chapter P quiz, which I did not see that in your list of assignments, so I will make this one available. And the reason why I do this chapter P quiz is because it has a lot of questions from college algebra. So it just kind of lets you kind of review some of the techniques from college algebra. You know, if something you have forgotten, then maybe you want to go back and review. And that chapter P, let's go back into student view. And what I would suggest might be a good place to start is you can see ebooks right here on the top of this page, or I think it also shows you right over here. So you also have the ebook available to you down here also. So I would say let's go under our textbook here, and you will actually see me using the textbook quite a bit because I show you examples and different things from the textbook here. So you can see here, chapter P is the prerequisites chapter. If you do a quick read through with that, it's going to take you through a lot of those basic algebraic concepts. And as I was telling you guys before, you will see a lot of parallels between the algebra course you did and trigonometry because they are built on those same concepts. So it may not be a bad, we're probably not going to use every single thing from here, but we're going to use quite a bit of these concepts from college algebra. So it might be a good idea to look through this chapter P and get familiar, especially if it's been a little bit of a time since you guys have done college algebra. And it sounded like some of you may have had a couple semesters since you've had any math class or you've had algebra. So, definitely look through this chapter P to get a little bit familiar with it. And you can see this is a pretty neatly designed e-textbook. And I can tell you, this is exactly what your paper copy of your textbook looks like, with the exception of the links. They will work here and they won't work on a paper copy. But yeah, this is exactly what your textbook looks like. And you can see they've got several different examples to walk you through. Of course, you'll have examples at the end of the chapter. So good place to start out with. And then, take the chapter P quiz, and then you can get into chapters, sections 1.1, 1.2, and so on and so forth. And the other thing you will notice is there is a quiz for each section. These quizzes are not big. They're very small quizzes. Because sometimes the sections can be talking about different concepts. So instead of doing like one big quiz with all of the 4 sections or the entire chapter, I break them down by section. So remember, you get 3 attempts on the quizzes. The quizzes do count for a grade. If you are happy with your attempt, then move forward. But if you want to improve your grade, you do get 3 attempts on the quizzes. And then, of course, you will see the first exam after we finish section 1.4. So that'll show up on the day of the exam. It won't show up before. And, again, this is the instructor side. This is what your side would look like.
So will the chapter P quiz be available starting today, for the weekend, so we can work on it? Or?
Yeah, Scott, I thought I had changed my settings, but because it's not showing up on your list, I think I might.
I haven't looked at my web page. That's why I'm just asking.
Okay, yeah, what I am seeing at my end, it's not showing up in that list, so I might have to go in and set the settings on that. But yeah, it doesn't look like it's showing up in this list over here. I'm not sure why.
We may be getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but I think I noticed that we go from chapter 4 to chapter 6. Is chapter 5 is that the logarithmic stuff, or?
Chapter 5. I think we actually don't do chapter 5. Yeah, that is your exponential and logarithmic functions.
I asked that question to my previous professor, and he said that it's used so rarely in trigonometry that they just sort of skip it.
Yeah, because with trig, we don't really do a lot of calculations or work with exponential or logarithmic functions. So you will see, I'm just showing you the entire list of assignments that we have, and you'll see we focus on chapters 1, 2, part of 3, not all of 3. We do chapter 4, and then we do skip chapter 5, and then even from chapter 6, you will notice we're only doing 2 small sections from that, because a big chunk of what trigonometry is actually coming in these first 2 chapters that we're going to be working on. And it will be a good part of the semester where we actually focus on chapters 1 and 2. And then the rest of the chapters really go very quickly because we're only doing a couple sections from each chapter. So it will seem like, oh my God, we haven't even made it out of chapter 1 for a while, but that's because that's where a big chunk of your information is. So yeah, Scott, we're definitely not doing exponential or logarithmic functions here.
It seems we're getting a very firm foundation in the basics of trig, like SOHCAHTOA, which is good.
Yes, and that's going to be your bread and butter for this course, is that SOHCAHTOA. So, and I think you guys will enjoy it. If you've not done trig, if you've not even had like because sometimes in high schools they'll do like introductory chapters and stuff. So I don't know if you guys have had that experience, if you've worked with unit circles and stuff. But it's really interesting to see once we kind of step out from that umbrella of algebra, even though algebra is the backing for this, it's kind of nice to think in terms of trigonometry, of how we can actually do some of those calculations, which may seem really challenging in a regular algebra course, but they make so much more sense in trigonometry. And I think there are quite a few practical applications for trig, which depending on what career you guys end up with, you may or may not have to use it. But, if going into more higher level math is what you guys are interested in, and usually trig is the stepping stone if you're getting into a calculus sequence, and you will definitely see again how we build up from the trig courses into when we get into those calc 1, calc 2 type of courses. And then you will again kind of see, oh my God, there's another direction we can take with algebra and trigonometry if you guys make it to that. So I'm kind of thinking if you guys are taking trig, maybe some of you are headed to that path, and maybe some of you are taking trig, and that would be the stopping point for you. But I think you will definitely find this class to be interesting and different from a college algebra course. All righty, I'll give you guys another second to see if you have any questions for me, anything that is kind of coming to mind in terms of classroom policy, in terms of our class in general. And then, we can kind of get into some of the beginning part of trigonometry here once, if you have questions, and I can answer anything for you. And then again, let me go back into our D2L course shell and just show you where you can find those handouts again. So let me know if any kind of questions are coming to you that you would like me to answer. So we're still under content over here. And if you scroll down on the left-hand side where I showed you, you have your class handouts. And these are all PDF files. So if you wanted to download them so that you can have access to them, you can definitely do that. And this is kind of where we would be starting with, is this section 1.1.
Mr. Ruka, if I may verify.
Go ahead.
So 1.1 through 1.4 is open and due when we take the test. And then once you take that test, 2.1 through whatever section that is, or 1.5 through 1.8 is available then. There's no way we could just like work ahead without taking that test in between.
Yeah, that's a good question, Chris. I think, I'm not sure why 1.5 was not showing as being open, because that actually begins a new exam, begins a new topic. So I think this one should actually be open to you. So yeah, once you finish the 1.1 to 1.4, you should be able to get into 1.5 and start working towards the next. So if you want to work ahead, you should be able to do that.
Okay, I guess I didn't know my numbers correctly. The next chapter test, 2, I guess, is what it would be on the chapter, the big chapter test, the 4 we have. That wouldn't be open until we complete all of 1 and then the test. So we couldn't do all the homework in 1 and then start on the homework in 2 without doing the test, which we have to do as a group, correct?
No, you should be able to get into chapter 2. So if you look at your homework assignment list, you will see that 2.1 is open to you.
I do see that,
So
yes.
you should be, and same thing with chapter 3, you can see the 3.1 is open. I'm not, again, sure why my assignments are out of order here. I might have to rearrange them. But you can see 3.1 is also open. So normally when you're beginning a new chapter, that first section is always open.
Regardless if we take the chapter test or not.
But yeah, I mean, to build up to the chapter test, we have to wait till you get 90% on all the homework sections for that chapter.
That's not what I'm asking. I think you answered it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So it looks like some of my settings did not kick in over here, guys. So I might have to go in and fix some of these. But like I said, if you wanted to download or look at your class handouts, all of them are available, from the first one to the last one. And I've included some extra stuff. The other handy tool that will come, we will be using a lot, is going to be this unit circle. And of course, you will see once we start getting into some of those explanation and calculations, a lot of this is going to make sense. I actually like to keep a paper copy of this handy with me, so that way, when I'm doing my calculations, I have it right there. If you want to have it available electronically, you can. It's an image, so you can also download it on your phone. But again, then for the exam, you're not allowed to use a phone, so that could be an issue. So if you can get a printed copy of this, that might be a handy tool to have with you, when you take your exams. And at some point, you actually get comfortable enough with the unit circle that you can actually draw one on your own. But if, like I said, if that's something you would like to have handy, then, go ahead and print it out and keep it in your notes, or, wherever you would have that. So I'm just opening up the handout here on my own computer instead of, on D2L. But this is exactly that 1.1 section handout. So you can see this is where we're just getting into some of that basic terminology with, trigonometric terms. Of course, here you can see they're saying, coming from the Greek language, it basically means measurement of triangles. But over the years, trigonometry has grown to much, much more than just measurement of triangles. You can see over here, we're talking about all the different ways we can use trigonometry. So it's not just about triangles anymore. We are talking about sound waves, orbits of planets, vibrating strings, pendulums, for that matter, even the orbit of atomic particles. There's many, many, many different applications where trigonometry can be used. So, just talking about it as measurement of triangles is very, very basic. So, definitely much more beyond that. You can see we're talking about using this in astronomy. Navigation was a big part. Surveys, when you're doing surveying of the land and stuff. So many ways you can use it. So one of the beginning things is understanding that, we do actually use trigonometry a lot with the sense of, geometry and angles. So even when you're working on that unit circle, and let me see, where's my unit circle, if I can open it. So, when we're talking about the initial side and the terminal side, what happens is, where you have that 0 degree is actually where we talk about being the initial side of our, measurement angle. So you always start at the 0 degree, and then we actually go counter clockwise to get positive angles. So, wherever you're going to end up with is where we call the terminal side, but that starting point is going to be right at 0 degrees. I'm not sure why my laptop is doing this right now. So here you will see on the right-hand side, we're saying this is your angle in the standard position. So you've got initial side on that positive x-axis, and then you are going counterclockwise, and wherever you end up, that's going to be the terminal side. So depending on what angle measurement you are looking at, and then they're just getting into a little bit more description over here, so you can see where the terminal side and the initial side meet. That point is called a vertex. So this paragraph here kind of highlights a lot of that terminology for you. So your initial side, terminal side, the endpoint is called the vertex for the angle. When your angle is in this position where your initial side falls on the positive x-axis and you go in the counterclockwise direction, that's your standard position that we are talking about. So counterclockwise rotation will give us positive angles, and clockwise will actually give you negative angles. And that's something we'll definitely be using a lot. So definitely keep this idea of the rotation in mind and how that generates positive or negative angles. For angles, we usually use Greek letters. So your alpha, beta, theta, are going to be the common variables that we use for angles. And then they are also saying you can do the uppercase A, B, C also to represent these angles. So either the Greek letters, alpha, beta, theta, or capital letters. And then you can kind of see in these images over here how we are talking about the rotation, which gives you the positive or the negative angle. Look at these two figures over here on the right-hand side. These are what we're talking about as coterminal. And by coterminal, we're basically saying, they're sharing the initial side and the terminal side, but you're going in two opposite directions. So you can see angle alpha over here, we're going in clockwise. So this is going to be a positive angle. We're not changing anything about our initial side or terminal side, but you're going in the clockwise direction, which gives you the angle beta. And this angle here going clockwise is going to give you negative. So you can see those are creating your coterminal angles. That's one way of generating a coterminal angle. The other one is you actually go in the same direction. So in this one here, we went in the positive and negative direction. But on this side with this angle, you can see we go from the initial side to the terminal side. That creates angle alpha. And you are still going in the same direction, but what you do is end up doing a complete circle around it. So you did your initial angle, but then you go back and complete that circle, which is giving you the angle beta. And that just means your angle is going to be greater than 360 degrees, but that also creates a coterminal angle. So you will see two different ways of actually creating your coterminal angles. I think my computer is taking a little time processing. I'm going to try and close some of these extra windows I have. Because something is slowing down. Yeah, see, something is slowing down my display. I'm sorry about that. Let me see if I can close some of these windows and that will help my processing a bit. Okay, let's try sharing one more time. Okay, can you guys see that screen? Yeah, awesome. Another thing to keep in mind is, when we're working with these angles over here, we actually can measure them in degrees or radian measure. And you actually saw that right here in our unit circle. So you can see, you've got your measurement in degrees. So we've got our 30 degree, but in radian measurement, that actually comes out to be pi over 6. If you look at the 90 degree, that's actually pi halves in radian. So you can see each one of these, you have the degree measurements, and then you have the radian measurements also. And then you will also notice is we actually at the end of those angles, you will see where these dots are. We also define them as an ordered pair. And this is actually defined in sine and cosine. So what is the sine and cosine of that angle, at that given point? So, a lot of different information is actually what you can gather from a unit circle. But like I said, you can notice that we always do these measurements in degrees and radians. So here we're kind of talking about what a radian measurement might be. And so you can see here, we're basically saying 1 radian is the measure of the central angle. I can get rid of. Okay, for some reason that little mark is not wanting to get erased. So it's the measure of the central angle that intercepts an arc. And the arc we're talking about is this little arc over here, which is, you know, represented by the S. Okay. My pen is not cooperating, but this is what we're talking about as the arc over here. So that's your arc S. And they're saying that is going to be equal in length to the radius of the circle. So you can see the radius of the circle, of course, we're talking about this distance here. And we're saying this length of the arc is going to be the same as your radius. So that angle that is created by this little definition will represent, you know, your measurement in radians. So you can see we're defining the angle theta here as S divided by R, which we know is going to come out to be 1 because S and R have the same measurement. So this will basically just come out to be 1. And that's kind of how we define these, you know, in terms of radians. So that's what you're looking at here for the radian measurement. And then, you know, of course, we have our traditional degree measurement also. So look at how they're kind of breaking down your circle here. So your circle, and again, this is basic geometry, guys. You know, we're saying the circumference of a circle is always defined as 2 pi r. And so if you're looking at 2 pi r as the entire circumference, we are talking about, you know, think about the entire arc length going in the counterclockwise direction as that circumference of your circle. So that's going to be that S equals 2 pi r. We know 2 pi is 2 times pi. Pi, of course, is defined as 3.14. So 2 times 3.14 will give you 6.28. So they're basically saying if you look at your circle, you know, you can kind of think of that as having just a little over 6 different radius lengths. And so, you know, we're saying you have a little bit more than 6 radians in an entire circle. So just kind of, you know, putting that into a little bit of perspective of if we were to break this down, you know, into an entire circle, how many angle measurements you would have in terms of radians, and it would be just a little bit over 6 radians. And you can kind of see that right here with the 2 pi calculation, you know, 6.28 is kind of what we're looking at in terms of how many radians an entire circle will have. And then, you know, they get a little bit further into how you can break this down. So how many revolutions you go around your circle. So you can see over here, we're talking about 1/2 revolution. So if you're taking an entire circle, which is that 2 pi, divide, and, you know, we're keeping our radius at 1 over here. So that's why it's 2 pi r, but it's 2 pi times 1. So if you're going half a revolution, you're taking half of 2 pi, which gives you pi. So you can see that is going to be this little guy over here. This is going to be your measurement. So that's going to be half, which of course, half of a circle also comes out to be 180 degrees. So that's what pi represents. Pi in radians would be equivalent to 180 degrees in obviously the degree measurement. If you go a quarter of the revolution, you know, quarter of the revolution would be 90 degrees, which is going to be this circle over here. So quarter of a revolution would be 2 pi divided by 4. That simplifies down to pi over 2. So pi over 2 is the same thing as 90 degrees. And think about it, guys. If pi is 180 degrees, you're doing pi divided by 2, which means you're taking half of the pi. Well, same thing. 180 divided by 2 is going to give you 90 degrees. So a lot of that is going to be very, very similar to, if you were working with degrees or if you were working with radians. Now, just again, if you're only going a sixth of a revolution, well, 2 pi divided by 6 will give you pi over 3, which is going to be this guy over here. And if I'm not mistaken, my memory serves me, pi over 3 is 30 degrees. Oh no, I was wrong. It's 60 degrees. Yeah, if we did 360 divided by 6. So yeah, that makes sense. All right. So that would be 60 degrees. So just the little breakdown of, how many revolutions you are going around the circle. Now, if you go a full revolution, so, you did 1 revolution, that's of course 2 pi divided by 1, which will of course give you the entire circle. And that's of course going to give us the 360 degrees. So just some different ways of thinking in terms of radians and how that works with, radians versus degrees would be something to keep in mind. Again, you guys have done algebra, so we can take a normal rectangular coordinate plane and we break it up into 4 quadrants. So you've got, again, counterclockwise. So you go quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and then quadrant 4. And then remember, this is going to be your initial side right here on the positive side of the x-axis. This is our initial side. If we go a quarter of the revolution, which is what we looked at in this circle, you can see at a quarter of a revolution, we would end up here. And that's your 90-degree angle at pi halves. So that means all the angles you have in quadrant 1 are going to fall between 0 degrees and 90 degrees, or in radians, that would be between 0 and pi over 2. In that same way, when you go to quadrant 2, you're going another quarter of a revolution, but now you're making a half. If you go from the initial side to the other opposite side, you're making that full 180-degree revolution. And so in this case, then you're starting at pi halves over here, and from pi halves, you're going to pi. So that basically means you're going from 90 degrees to 180 degrees. So that's going to be between pi halves and pi. Then you make another quarter revolution and you end up in quadrant 3. And, by going another quarter, that means you're going another 90 degrees. So 180 plus 90 will bring us to what, 270 degrees? And so that's going to be between 180 and 270, or in radians, that's going to be angles between pi, 3 pi halves. And then, of course, the last little bit of quarter will put us at 270 to, of course, 360 degrees. And, again, you always, and that's kind of why I like our little unit circle over here, because you can, again, kind of get all of those, markers and measurements that you can look at over here. So of course, then you will see this is what we were talking about as quadrant 1 here. This was our quadrant 2, quadrant 3. And then of course, this last one here is quadrant 4. So you can literally superimpose that image that you have, and you can see how that works out right on top of that unit circle. So a lot of parallels between that, and that's kind of going to be our basis of working with this. So this will be some of that initial information I really want you guys to get comfortable with. Again, some other terminology that you should be familiar with is when your angle is smaller than 90 degrees. So, between 0 and 90 degrees, or pi halves in this case for radian measurement, we call those angles as acute angles. If your angles are going to be between pi halves and pi, those are called as obtuse angles. So, pi halves and pi, of course, that means you're looking at between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. So acute angles, obtuse angles, again, some terminology to be familiar with. This one here is actually talking a little bit more about those coterminal angles that I was talking about initially. So remember, coterminal means your two angles have the same initial side and the same terminal side, and it's just what direction you are going in to create those coterminal angles. So you can go, in opposite directions and create a positive and a negative angle, which is what's happening in this figure over here. So those are coterminal. Or you can still keep going in the same direction, but make a full complete circle and then go back to the terminal side, and you also end up getting coterminal angles in this form. So just kind of something to think about. And you will actually have homework problems where they will ask you to find coterminal angles. So you can see how they're giving you this initial angle over here. They're saying find the positive angle, 13 pi over 6. To obtain a coterminal angle, they're saying, you can subtract 2 pi. So if you look at the original 13 pi over 6, that's actually this big angle that you have. So we started with that angle here, and then we went a full complete circle. So this was the original angle that was given to us, which was 13 pi over 6. So we're basically saying, since you went a whole entire circle, if from 13 pi over 6, you subtract that circle, which is 2 pi, you actually end up getting pi over 6. And pi over 6 is just, not completing that circle, just going from the initial side to the terminal side, and that ends up giving you pi over 6. But they are still sharing the same initial side, same terminal side, and that's why we can call them coterminal angles. So that's kind of what, that initial terminology we're talking about here. You've got another example here to show you how even adding 2 pi, which means, again, you're going a full revolution, can also end up giving you a coterminal angle. So you can see I've given you guys, 2 examples to work through to try and see, okay, how can we come up with one positive and one negative coterminal angle? And that can literally be, adding or subtracting 2 pi. You can actually even go 2 revolutions, and you can add or subtract 4 pi, because that's just going 2 times, right, around the circle. So you can also do that. So, just start working with some of these initial examples just to kind of get a little comfortable with the terminology, with some of these initial parts of, kind of laying that base for trigonometry. And then we can continue with a little bit more discussion on this initial part. You can see we're getting into a little bit more geometry side of things with the complementary, supplementary angles and stuff like that. And then what I will do for our next class is I'll just pick up some examples from our textbook, so we can kind of look at some examples just to get you guys comfortable with some of these types of problems. And then we'll get into a little bit more detailed with other aspects. So you can see the next thing we'll get into is degree measurements, and then going back and forth between radians and degrees, and some other conversions. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we have in this first section over here. So we'll pick that up on Monday. So today was more about just kind of introducing you to our coursework and then just kind of getting you started. At least get started on section 1.1 homework, and then I will see why that chapter P quiz is not showing up, and I'll open that so you guys can work on that over the weekend and just at least get some of that prerequisite stuff started also. So I know I said I wouldn't keep you longer, but I've already kept you longer here. So any questions before I let you guys go? Okay, if something comes up, don't hesitate to email me. And if you haven't signed up for remind.com, again, go ahead and sign up for that, because I'll start sending you reminders through that as we move forward. So have a wonderful evening, guys. Be careful, and I will see you on Monday. So take care, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. Be careful.
Bye.
You too.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. Take care. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Ruka.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do this video. I tried for like 30 minutes. I'll have to call for support. Your comments about like class and stuff and work, that wasn't just directed towards me in general. We ended on good terms last year, didn't we?
Oh yeah, no, I have no problems. And
Okay.
I understand the situation you were with, because I think some of the things just were unexpected, and I don't think you thought it was going to happen.
No, I procrastinated, and then, you opened up everything at the very end of the class so I could catch up. and I ended up doing, I think, 3 tests in a week actually, and then
I
I lost my
remember.
calculator. I lost my calculator that day of the final and just was like panic and overwhelmed. So I just want to make sure, because I am, I'm in the same position. I'm working, and
How's
I just-
your back now?
no, it's my hip, and
Sorry, hip.
it's doing great. It was great. During the recent snowstorms, I've been using a different piece of machinery, and because I used to just drive the plow trucks, but now I go and do all these HOAs with this kind of little machine. It's like a little tank. It's on tracks,
Uh-huh.
and so I control the blade with the pedals, and it really kind of wore me out just because it's so specific, up down with my left, to like actually lift the blade up, put it on the ground. So it's been hurting a little bit over the last couple weeks, but all in all, it's fantastic.